My name is Håkan Jönsson. I work at Lund University, one of the partners at the SB Food project, and I will try to guide you through this very exciting afternoon when it comes to this final conference of the SB FOODINNO program. This project has been about developing food innovation capacity in the South Baltic region. We have been project partners, both core partners and associated partners. It's been led by the lead partner, University College Absalon from Zealand, that had another name when we started the project, but that was some time ago. Lund University, Rostock University, Aarhus University, the Zealand Institute of Business and Technology, the Swedish University of Agricultural Science, and not least the University of Copenhagen. Also not the original partner, but the group was transferred from the University of Aalborg to University of Copenhagen. We have had three different areas to work with within the project. The first one has been food innovation SMEs and hands-on innovation development with a focus area on vegetable plant proteins. The second area has been focusing on the public sector and how public sector can be driving SME food innovation. Municipalities and hospitals, they are one of the major provider of meals in today's society. So of course, the public sector has a major role in driving food innovation, but perhaps not always targeting SMEs. So we will hear more about the municipalities' food strategy and hospital food procurement later on. And finally, the smart growth in food SMEs, trying to build a knowledge bridge platform across the South Baltic, where we can learn, exchange ideas, and not least create a toolbox to be used for future innovation in the South Baltic area. Today, we will have three blocks of the final conference. Since we have very much focus on SMEs in this project, we will naturally start with some cross-border SME case stories. You will meet some fascinating small, medium-sized enterprises and hear their stories. Two SMEs, and I will get back to that briefly. Then we will have a short break and move on to the tools for food SMEs and the food sector. And then we will wrap up with some interesting keynotes focusing on the plant protein and the public procurement and the municipal food strategies, and end up with a sort of panel discussion and opening up the floor for comments and not least pointing the road to the future. We will start with these two fascinating stories from Sven-Erik Jacobsen about quinoa quality and Kasper Kragen about the food users. Then we will move on to the Food Innovation Canvas model and the SME cases. There we have a joint presentation from University of Copenhagen and Lund University. It's Josephine de Loren and Jeanette Pyrhagen. Also in this block, a video and presentation about food system model and thinking by Ivanche Dimitrievski from Lund University. Then in the final area, we have some, a whole range of inspiring keynotes. Johannes Ravn Jørgensen about the faba bean trials, Christine Struck on the protein content on lupin seeds and more. And Helena Persson-Hovman will talk about cover crops for protein production, Thomas Olofsson about the vegetable protein in recipes. Christian Koff then will move on to present and discuss the rural public food policies and strategies in the South Baltic region. And finally, we end up with a joint talk and discussion with a future outlook. So that is my introduction to the whole conference. And just before I hand over to the first speaker, I will just open the floor if you have any questions or comments before we start the conference. Michael Christensen, perhaps as a PMO, you would like to say just a few words about the technicalities or something else about the project.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for a very good introduction, Håkan. And we are all looking forward to have this session, which should be of advantage in an SME context. So that's our main topic of today's session. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions concerning the before we start? Okay, thank you very much. Then I will give the virtual floor to Sven-Erik Jakobsen from Quinoa Quality. Sven-Erik, can you please turn on your microphone and video? And I also suppose that you have a presentation that you can share with us. Welcome, Christian. No, it's Christian. Sven-Erik. Sven-Erik Jakobsen. Sorry, I don't know where I got Christian from. Sorry. Sven-Erik, welcome.
Thank you very much, Håkon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the invitation to be part of this this event and this very interesting project. So I'm very happy that I can present what I'm doing in this this company here, and just briefly, my background is I'm an agronomist from the Royal Veterinary and Agriculture University, and I've been working with alternative new crops from the very beginning. And I have a long time in this university and later the University of Copenhagen, working in a lot of projects and international projects, EU projects, and also teaching of these crops. From 2018, I have been full time in my company, which aims at promoting quinoa and other high quality crops for the farmers, but also for the consumers. So the keyword is plant-based food for the consumers. So I will talk about what we are doing, and let me see here. The mission is to promote plant-based food, plant-based protein for food. And the idea is, of course, that we need to reduce our consumption of meat and replace it by plant-based protein. The vision of the company is to increase agro-biodiversity and to enhance the food security and food diversity in Europe, but also in developing countries and the rest of the world, to supply seed of quinoa and other high quality, high value alternative crops, supervise farmers in the market, and deliver plant-based food products for the industry. And we are reflecting the global challenges we all know, and I will not go into details today, but we know we have the population growth, the climate changes is affecting our food production. We have actually an increasing meat consumption. We have a reduction of our biodiversity, and we have decreasing production of protein in the EU, which all is reflecting an agriculture and which is becoming problematic in many respects, and where we actually are not facing the climate changes as we are supposed to do. So what are the potential solutions to that? The potential solutions are to create climate-proof cropping systems through improved crop rotations, new technology, which can be ancient traditional technology, which we improve in various aspects or take up, or it can be new genetic material which we use either from our major crops or from new alternative crops. And going into these three aspects here, we will contribute to global food safety and environmental and economical sustainability. I will only talk about the genetic material, and especially the new genetic material. And I've been asked to focus mainly on quinoa, which is one of the super grains of the world, and one of the crops which can secure our sustainable food production in the future. And why is the quinoa so beneficial? First of all, it has a very high nutritional value, high protein content, high protein quality with all the essential amino acids and a range of vitamins and minerals which we all need. Also, with respect to the cultivation, it's tolerant to many of the climate factors that we are facing. First of all, drought, also frost, and soil salinity is regarded as the most soil-tolerant crop existing in the world. And salinity is the second climate factor coming after drought. And finally, also we have the market for quinoa is increasing. You can say there was almost an explosion in the interest for quinoa, and it's gradually increasing all over the world. Here we see the production of quinoa is taking place in traditionally in very few countries. Actually, only two countries, which are the Andean countries, Peru and Bolivia, which has been supplying the global market of quinoa until recently. And what has happened now with the increasing interest in quinoa around the world? Yeah, that we can see here that we have South America which is producing quinoa. 65,000 hectares in Peru and almost a double in Bolivia. Those are the most recent figures I could get. In Europe, production of quinoa is starting almost all over, and my estimate is that we have around 8,000 hectares in Europe. It's increasing, but right now it's the size. Also, China is coming in with a significant area. In Africa, it's growing, and it's coming in several countries. And so in total, we have in the world around 200,000 hectares, which of course makes quinoa a very, very small crop compared to all the other crops we know. But it's a crop which is regarded as a crop for the future, and it's a crop which could have much more area and much more production that it has. But even if we see this interest all over and the growing of quinoa in Europe and all other places, is still South America accounting for around 88% of the market here in Europe and the rest of the world, but and only 12% comes from countries outside South America. So there is a huge scope and a huge potential for Europe and also for Africa and other places to take up the production of quinoa and increase the production. What are the prices for quinoa? The farmer is paid around €2 per kilo, and that's more or less what it is here in some places a little bit less, and in other places a little bit more. The alternatives, the cereals has a price which is much lower, and but also the yields of quinoa is lower than the cereals. But so we can make a simple analysis to see is it interesting for the farmers, and if we put up yields from 1.2 to 1.5 tons per hectare, and with increasing prices, and compared to some of the known spring crops, we see that even with the lowest yield and the lowest price of quinoa, the profit is higher than fava bean, barley, and sugar beet, and it very fast takes over from these crops. So from this picture, it's in my opinion, it's obvious that quinoa has also there's also a very strong interest from economical reasons that to go into quinoa production. So we have been working a lot with the production of the quinoa, because it's not enough that we can grow quinoa outside the Andes. It's very important also that we create markets. And actually, I actually lived in Peru for 6 years, and at that time, it was in the 90s, mid 90s. At that time, there was absolutely no market for quinoa. Quinoa was a marginal crop, only for what they said the poor people and the small scale farmers. They ate it. Nobody in the cities wanted to eat quinoa. So we started to work with Academy of Gastronomy in Lima, called Cordon Bleu, and we made courses and for chefs, and after that, the festivals where the participants from hotels and restaurants they could present their new recipes, and it was a great success. And we did that in several places of Peru, and it was part of the start of the race of the interest in quinoa in the late 90s, and leading to the you can say the international year of the quinoa in 2013 from the FAO. But this was an excellent way to do it, and we actually did the same in Denmark around 10 years ago. You see on the lower pictures is one of the famous chefs of Denmark, Erwin Lauterbach, and he made a complete quinoa buffet in his restaurant, and we invited the media, the press, chefs and cooks and so on, and it was a great event. And I think this was more or less the start of the interest of quinoa in Denmark, because since that time we all the time see new recipes, and we see articles in magazines, newspapers, and so on. But also you see in other places of the world there is an interest in quinoa. In the United States, they made a quinoa vodka, and the other picture of that is actually from my kitchen, presenting we call them frikadella, quinoa frikadella, or it's a kind of a beef and a patty of quinoa. Really excellent dishes. So the market and the promotion to the market is, of course, crucial also to promote a new crop like quinoa. And here we see that that the original, you can say, objective of the work has been to decrease the consumption of meat and replace it with the plant-based protein and ensure sustainability in our agriculture with new products and to improve the food security of the people, and also to create new processed and sustainable products like we see up there. It's actually a cream not made from milk, but from lupin, and it's that kind of products we need if we are really changing from animals to plants. And in that way, we are able to boost the bioeconomy with a focus on EU, but also outside, and to create new businesses like this restaurant we see, and there are many opportunities if we do it in the right way. So there has been produced various products from that, and we see now this is not only quinoa but other types of protein. We see burgers which can be made from quinoa. Jamie Oliver, he did it, and he was happy with it, and also the ones who tasted it. But it's also other protein sources are used for that. We see this minced meat was developed here in Denmark, first based on soy protein, which was not so well seen, because we wanted to have our locally produced protein, and they now do it with pea protein, and it works very well. And on the top you see another product which is coming up, which is vegetable milk, which we're not allowed to say, but with vegetable drink as an alternative to milk, and that one up there is made from quinoa, and it was regarded as an excellent taste. So it's still on the lab base, so it's not commercially yet, but it will come hopefully soon. And the newest product which has been developed here in Denmark is a gluten-free quinoa beer, which is now on the market, and is very tasty. And it took a long time to develop, because you cannot use normal barley malt, because if you want to be gluten-free, so you have to do it in another way. So I'm not coming to a short history of my company. You can say that the company is a direct continuation of all my life before, or all my professional life before. I always been working on these things, and I just came to understand that we needed to get it out and work in among the farmers and among the supermarkets and the restaurants and so on, and we needed to push it hard, and also as I had been involved in the adaptation and breeding and selection of quinoa, and I had developed these varieties of quinoa which was adapted to European conditions, then I saw it almost as an obligation to offer it to the farmers in Denmark, in Europe, and also outside. So as I said before, I spent a lot of time in in South America. I lived there for 6 years and worked mainly in the Andean region of Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, but also in Chile and Argentina. And here you see some pictures from the traditional growing of quinoa. Very nice pictures of quinoa, and you can say this was what it looked like before, when it was traditional production. And now with this, what we call the quinoa boom, it has changed. So we now see machinery coming in. We see the plow and the sowing machine and so on, which is actually not always a very good idea in these very fragile soils. And we also see in other places, like in Peru, that they are sowing the quinoa on the coast and applying a lot of fertilizers, water, and pesticides. So this kind of production is not beneficial for anyone, not for the environment, not for the farmers there, and not for the consumers who eat it. So this is something I've been working on when I was there, but also after coming back to the university, and EU projects where we involved these countries and try to improve the production of quinoa and other Andean crops, and do it in a sustainable way.
Sven-Erik,
anyhow, I had a...
Sven-Erik, you just kindly inform me that you have about 5 minutes left on your time slot. So yes, just so you get all the condensed info. Thank you.
I will do it in 5 minutes. The activities which I do in the company is, you can say, as a private company, you have to generate income, and the short-term income generation is through sales of seeds, and so this is my key activity. And I've developed this product catalog that you see there, and we have improved our web page and are going into social media and so on. So it's not only quinoa, it's also a lot of other minor high quality crops. The long-term development is what I see as the most interesting, because that's the breeding programs where I try to develop quinoa, to develop new varieties of quinoa, and also types which is demanded from the market. I'm involved in research development projects on different aspects like weed control, diseases and pests management, and we have a project also on protein fractionation, both working with University of Aarhus and also University of Copenhagen, and we are doing publications. And what I also should mention here is that it is very important to work with universities and other institutions like the business academies, where we actually developed this quinoa milk I showed you before, and you see a picture of the student who was involved. This is an excellent way, and it's very, very nice for me also to continue to work with student, and you get a lot of feedback from them, and which is extremely useful in your daily life as in your company. So the future of this situation we are in, and in order to, you can say, save the world, but at least to save the food for the increasing population and under the climate change, is that we have to work on develop new crops and sustainable production of these crops and processes and develop attractive new food products. We had to use a new genetic material, as I have shown here, and increase our agrobiodiversity and decrease the focus on our monocrops. So there's a lot to do, but we have to go on that way in order to be able to really confront the climate change and be able to survive the ones we are here already, but also the ones which will come the future generation. So I will say thank you very much again for the opportunity, and I'm very happy to have the chance to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sven Erik. An excellent presentation, and I'm so glad that we can have this perspective from you on see that an SME can actually work with a very global perspective and the global challenges, yet at the same time be, firmly rooted in the Scandinavian soil. So I think it's an excellent example on what we can do here in the South Baltic region, even with crops that have their origin elsewhere. How would you say that the yield and the soil in general in Scandinavia or the South Baltic is in comparison with the Andean soil when it comes to quinoa and related cereals?
In the Andes, you very often have very poor soils with little fertilizers, light soils, and but that's not the most important. That's actually the climate and the variation in climate, the drought, but also the temperature variation between day and night, and all these kind of things. We don't have all that in our countries, but we have the light soils. We have the fairly cold climate. We have drought because in Denmark we have 60% are sandy soils, and we have a lot of light soils in the whole Baltic region, and so timber-wise and so on. So actually because we are talking about a tropical crop, and the reason why it has been possible at all to grow quinoa here is that some of these factors are similar. So my breeding has been aimed at going towards early maturity and less dependence on short days. So I would say, and with respect to the soils, I always have believed that exactly for the reason that you asked, what are the similarities, that quinoa should be grown on the sandy soils and the light soils and the poor soils, where we have few other options. And that's also where I've been working for the first many years here in Denmark and other Nordic countries and Europe. But now it's spreading out. So also farmers at the better soils have found out that they can grow quinoa, and so as it is now, quinoa is grown on all soil types. But the good thing about it is that quinoa can be grown on the lighter soils.
Okay. Thank you very much for developing on that matter. And once again, thank you for a very, very inspiring presentation. It's really nice to have you with you here tonight, Sven Erik. Thank you very much.
You. Thanks.
And by that, I would like to introduce the next speaker, which is Kasper Kragen from Food User, who are working with, say, something apparently quite similar to what the entire project aim at doing, and working with specific types of food, and also not least with matchmaking. So if Sven Erik can or Michael can assist in skipping the shared screen option. And then I can see that Casper is ready and unmuted. So Casper, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and to give a little intro to what we're doing. And yeah, as you said, Håkan, it's a lot similar on the commercial side of what this project is all about. So and just to give a little quick brief background into myself, I actually, before I ended here in the very exciting food industry, had a background in the Danish Armed Forces and also doing online marketing and e-commerce development. So that is kind of like my basis for this. Just to give a quick heads up for what is Food User actually. Food User is a B2B marketplace, and it's built on a web platform with integrated matchmaking for cross-border buyers and sellers in Europe. And we have had a particular focus on the green foods in terms of the alternative and new protein sources and also organic and more sustainable food types. The why, well, we have also found out, and this is probably even more so now in these times, that the smaller and medium-sized enterprises, they generally have a hard time reaching new markets, and especially if it's both the combination of reaching a new market, but also reaching a new market with a new kind of product. And in terms of this, we have also seen that there has been a huge increase in the general buyer demand, but the transparency into these segments is hard to come by. So the general vision for us, the big grand vision, is to create a new, more digital value chain, because we believe that some of the new technologies and e-commerce possibilities really enables access to new markets and open up a world of possibilities in terms of collaboration and cross-border trading. We see that with the rise of blockchain technology and more integrated systems across the board, will enable the distribution of products to be automated on a whole different scale, with increased tracking capabilities, quality control, etc., which could in due time be handled more or less remote and while the things are in transit. And if we then couple this with the latest technologies in terms of programmatic payments and new models for order to pay financing, it could really help increase the trust and enable trade on a whole other scale between the partners in the chain. So in the near future, you could have a kind of like a scenario that spans like this. You have a buyer which has some kind of product demand of some sorts and have trouble finding their counterpart in terms of bringing this to market. It could be consumer demand, it could be anything else. And they then send a request to our system, and through our system, the right supplier is matched with the right buyer within seconds. It could be due to volume, quantity, price, product category, etc. And the buyer then pays X amount upfront through this programmatic payment, and that secures kind of the order and sets everything in motion in terms of delivering and everything. And when the supplier then fulfills the order and the product has been delivered as promised, the remaining payment is released automatically. And this could really help ensure that the buyers get the right products at the right time to help with the food disposals, and also increases the cash flow and at the suppliers, and really shorten the time to market for both products and new ideas. So to go into the more kind of like the specifics of today and what is actually able. I have a few examples from just this year, and we have seen that a company like a Danish quinoa group, which I think also Sven Erik actually has had something to do with, has through us gained some initial market entry into German market wholesalers with their new and great quality quinoa products. Also, a company like Lupinta, which has developed new products based on the lupine discoveries, are as we speak in product testing with a Danish hotel chain, which is great. And last but not least, in terms of this, we have a company like Vigo, which has really utilized all the different possibilities in our toolbox to try and gain a much deeper entry to the Scandinavian and Western European markets. So in terms of this, you are able to utilize a platform like ours to develop new market possibilities. It could be near home, regional, or pan-European, depending on your company goals and everything. And to make it a tad more concrete in terms of this, we can today for the cross-border trader help them with tools that are digital in terms of product information management system, helping with B2B sales and e-commerce, helping with marketing and communications materials, and ensure that the compliance and regulations are being followed in terms of data quality and things. So to make it a little bit more hands-on, I have prepared to show some of the initial tools that I have just spoken a little bit about. This is from Vigo. Vigo has used our mini web shop capabilities to produce this site, which they can use both internally and externally. They can send this to relevant buyers and showcase their products, and this makes their both products and product information and everything able or accessible fairly easily. This is also something that we use in terms of matchmaking to say, okay, I know that this kind of buyer is looking for this kind of product, and then I can reference and show them the product side as it is. And if we say that I'm now an interested buyer and I want to look into more of this, then I can press the button, and then I can go into the more nitty-gritty into the platform. And this is a product page showcasing on the platform, which has the relevant information and the product description here, which they can showcase with some environmental images and stuff like that. We have the basic information on the products. We have the ingredients, allergens, the handling, and the ability to showcase it here. You can then either request directly on these products, or they can download the product sheets, which is generated by the system in different languages, and everything on the platform is available in the near country languages, Danish, English, Swedish, and German, which makes it a easy and fast way to be able to get in contact with some new buyers on a plane that they understand. Yes. So if we go to the next, this would be when you press the actual product sheet. Then it will generate this, and it can do this in all the different languages. You have a nice way of setting it up, and this is something that we've really seen that especially the smaller companies have really utilized well in terms of both having the translation capabilities, so that's easier to go into buying discussions with new buyers, and also having the ability to generate this in an easy fashion with all their products on the platform. And just to showcase, this is how the product information management system is kind of set up in terms of this, and you can have all your products here and have like a one-stop shop for this kind of digital product management. Yes. So the last but not least part of it is definitely also an easier way of handling the order and negotiation flow, and this is again Viggo with a request for one of their products. It makes it easy for them to handle incoming requests, and there is built-in capabilities in terms of doing this proposal and offering, and when we feel that we have an agreement of some sorts in terms of this, it can be accepted, and you can download directly the order form in terms of having this as a one-stop shop for this kind of commercial needs. So yeah, in terms of this, the different tools that are available for the smaller small to medium-sized enterprises are there with us, and we have really seen that this can really help accelerate a lot of the cross-border interactions, and of course, because this is some of the new software-based kind of thing, you have a very cost-effective way to really be relevant and be there. Yeah. And yeah, this was generally what I had to show for today's little event. But you could say that with the current climate and pandemic and everything, the necessity to have some digital tools at your disposal have never been more never been more concrete, and I really think that those of the new kind of companies with the very new great both better sustainable and also more healthier products for us to consume, they can really utilize someone like ours to really expedite their time to market. Yes. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Kasper. Fascinating story about a business idea that, as you conclude with, is definitely something that is both a part of the present and will definitely be there in the future. So, I mean, what if you just look into the future, say 5 years from now, what's your vision for the food user and this type of combination of trade and matchmaking?
If we look at 5 years into the future, I think we will have a completely different way to think about it. Instead of having what can you say, this as a more of an add-on, where this is maybe as it is today is something that is seen as something you can do also between going either to fairs or having like a big establishment in a local market. I think we're gonna see it on a whole different level, where we play on the what can you say, on the digital playing field first, and when it makes sense, to maybe have a more established presence in a country, you can really start to develop some commercial basis, not just a swing and a miss, if you can say it like this. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any question to Casper from anyone in the audience?
Yes, I do have a question. Thank you so much, Casper, for a good presentation. I'm a little bit curious about your engine, your digital engine. Could you just very shortly go into that search site and just shortly show us a little bit more about this search engine, which I find very interesting.
And hopefully it's working right now, because that's how it is. So yeah, but in general, you can say that the search engine is as it is right now. It won't reload, so that's really great. But in here, you can type any kind of if you buy, you can type any kind of product, ingredient, nutritional value, anything, and it will search upon this in the database. But if we're looking just like a quarter into next year, it will be also possible to just have a let's say a fixed type of either quantity or product category, or everything that you just initially tell us and set up here, so you don't have to actively go in and look for it. And just as soon as something comes up that I know that you like, Michael, just to take an example, the search engine will automatically have searched it for you and send you the relevant information. So that could be, let's say, in case again with the Vego, you have a thing for tofu merchandise that you would really like to, and when we then get this publicized on the platform, as soon as it comes up, you get an automated response that this kind of product is now available that you're looking for. So you don't have to use too much time in going in and actually having to search for it, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that is something that we're really looking into, because it can save a lot of time, and it doesn't have to be so dependent on you being active, but it can also be dependent on you having some day-to-day requests and demands that you have a problem fulfilling, which is really where I think it can really get some quick value for the buyer and also the seller. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We also have a question in the chat from Mette Vanja Hansen, the trust issue, which is of course crucial for this type of business. I mean, you can't look the other one in the eyes and take a handshake or something like that. So what if the collaboration is going wrong? I mean, and what is your responsibility there?
In terms of the responsibility, we don't have what can you say per se responsibility on what is happening there. That is also why we try to not have it what can you say buying it directly from us, but more utilizing the different what I'm trying to say here, the different digital possibilities to ensure that the trust can be established between the parties. So this could be in case of if it was the programmatic payments example. Well, then we set it up so that the trust can be through there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but we would also like to incorporate more of the online meeting possibilities, so that it can be also establish some kind of relations and use it as a ongoing tool that way. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Casper.
Question?
Yeah, Very interesting future to come, a very promising future, I'm sure, for food users. So thank you once again, Casper, for your inspiring presentation. And I'm sure that both of these presentations, both from Casper and from Sven Erik, will stay with us for the rest of the day. And I'm sure that a lot of the speakers can refer back to these introductory presentations from these two inspiring SMEs, since they are addressing so many also, both specific and also general issues. Now it's time to have a short break before we move on with the specific tools that the product has developed. So it's now 7 to 1. We start again 1300 sharp. So 7 minutes bio break. Looking forward to see you again soon. Well, now it's 1 o'clock, and I would like to welcome you all back to the meeting. Now it's time for the second block, where we will introduce some of the tools that we have created in this project, a little bit more about the process, and not least the fascinating story with the collection and selection of exciting SME cases. I will now leave the floor to a duo. It's Jeanette Purhagen from Lund University, Department of Food Technology, Engineering and Nutrition, and Josephine Deloan-Boyson from Copenhagen University, the Food Department in Copenhagen. So welcome, and we are looking forward to hear your presentation.
Thank you, Håkan. I'll just share my screen. Okay, so hi guys. I hope you'll find the next 20 to 25 minutes interesting as we will present the Food Innovation Toolbox and Canvas model, and an overview of SME cases and some perceptions of innovation, and what we call levels of innovation in SMEs, and then some future prospects. Thank you for the introduction, Håkan. I will just have to inform you guys that if I'm sounding a bit out of breath, it's not because I went running, it's because I am dealing with some late symptoms from being sick with coronavirus. So you have to excuse me if I'm out of breath from one time to another. But yes, I am Josephine, and I work as a research assistant at the Copenhagen University. And now I will leave the floor, the virtual floor, to Jeanette from Lund University.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeanette Purhagen, and I'm working as a project manager and researcher at Lund University. And I will start to talk a little about the Canvas model that we have developed. The Canvas model has been developed and designed with the intention to be used as a tool for small and medium enterprises to help them to reflect and gather information about the business and innovations, and also in that way be easier to develop new innovation strategies. The Food Innovation Canvas consists of 2 pages, where in the first page, I think you can change slides, Josephine. Yeah, in the first page, the reason for this page is to describe your business and the functions, and also reflect on which key activities and resources do you have in the company, and who are you collaborating with, and through which channels are you collaborating with both the collaborators, but also to reach your customers. And also there is a section about sustainability, where a lot of companies have byproducts or are using byproducts from other companies. And that could all be a good reflection to think, what do we have that others might need? In the end of the first page, we have 2 boxes of first describing the main innovations within the company, but also to describe your dream team. If you could choose whoever you want to work with, who would that be and why, both within the company and with your collaborators? And as you can see in this first page, for each of these boxes, we have some questions to help you fill in these different boxes so you will gather correct and enough information. In the second page, we have designed this for the companies to describe one innovation. And first of all, we want to know what innovation is for you, both personally and as a business, because innovation can differ a lot between companies. Thereafter, we have selected some boxes and questions for you to help you to describe your innovation, if it's a product innovation or packaging, and how you did the innovation. If you, for instance, did it in-house or you hired consultants. And there are also boxes we want you to reflect about the outcome. Was it expected outcome, and why not? And if it was a success. And the reason we want you to think about this and also write in things that wasn't really good is that you can help yourself in the future and also other companies that you can share this canvas with, not to step in the wrong holes again, so to say, so you can avoid the mistakes the second time. And also we want you to give useful recommendations and additional reflections. And that is also both for you and for collaborators.
Yeah, thank you, Jeanette. So I will just show you, this is going to work, how I have used the Canvas model, because it could also be used in a different context. I've used it as a interview guide for interviewing SMEs on innovation processes and perceptions. And this is a Danish translated version of the model that I did for the interviews. And to just have a short comment, some of my experience with using this model was that I could actually bring it physically to the SMEs and have a more dynamic interview because they had this way of looking at the interview questions with me. But I will move on. So for this project, data on innovation processes and perceptions has been collected through 45 different interviews with food SMEs and startups across Denmark, Germany, Lithuania, and Sweden. These interviews have been conducted by different researchers from different project partner institutions, but has resulted in these 45 cases as shown on the map I have created. So yes, as you can see, the color of Denmark represents the Danish cases and the color of Germany represents the German cases, and so on. I hope that you get the kind of system because I will use it later on. But first, I would like to say that I will not give any specific results from each cases, since that will take way too long and might not be that interesting for you guys to follow all the way through. So this will be more some general characteristics that I've analyzed from the SME cases. And the first one regards how SMEs perceive innovation, since this has been a main focus point for the use of the food innovation canvas model. And the main conclusion is that innovation is not just one thing. It becomes multiple through different perceptions, or interpretations that the SMEs have on the term. And here I just wanted to show you some of the very different ways that some of the SMEs perceive innovation. So the first one is innovation is to create something new, a solution to the world's problem. And another one stated that innovation is a personality trait. It's how you meet your challenges. While a different, SME state that we actually actively try to work with innovation in every aspect of our company. And this totally different perception or relation to innovation is I don't even like or understand the word innovation. Sounds like something a marketing manager would enjoy. And then I also brought you this quote from one of the cases that stated that if you want to be a startup food business in the food industry, you won't survive if you're not capable of being innovative. And that was just to kind of show you that even though innovations are perceived differently and approached differently, it is important to every SME. And as a way of trying to analyze or categorize innovations in SME, I've used some innovation theory provided by Besson and Sid and tried to create a rough analysis of the SME cases on how innovate, what we call levels of innovation, because innovation is not just what a lot of people might think of product innovation. It can happen on different levels, such as concept innovation and system innovation and paradigm innovation. And I would like to state that even though I have tried to categorize the different SMEs in the different levels of innovation, the innovations might happen on multiple levels in different times and connections to the companies. But I tried to make this matrix where I have the product innovation level and the concept innovation level and the system innovation level and the paradigm innovation level. And then I tried to plot in the cases. And here I don't know if you remember the different colors that relates to the different countries, but the golden are the Danish companies and the dark blue are the Swedish companies and the light bluish are the Lithuanian companies and the green ones are the Germany companies. And as you can maybe tell from this, and this is just my analysis, there are some natural differences that kind of pops into your head and to your eyes, and that is how the SMEs in the Lithuanian and German cases mainly innovates on product level, but also on the concept level, while the Danish cases innovates on more, and the Swedish cases innovates more on system and paradigm level. And of course, this can have very different reasons for that due to the selection of the cases and so on. But this is kind of what popped up from doing this sort of analysis. Yes, and just to wrap up, these are some main conclusions or future prospects. We see how we see how that innovation, first of all, is not a fixed term, and it's not just one thing. It happens on multiple levels through multiple perceptions and interpretations. And as a future prospect, it could be interesting to look into how SME levels of innovation connect to their motivational drivers for the innovation, as well as look into their challenges. Because from the data, I do see that there are some connections between the type and the levels of innovation, as well as the challenges that the SMEs meet. And then, of course, a recommendation is to understand your innovations. Many SMEs might not be aware of how and why they innovate on the different levels or in the different processes that they do. But maybe, Jeanette, I don't know if you have any last comments on how the SMEs then might use the toolbox for actually understanding their innovation.
Yeah, it's mostly like if for instance, the food innovation canvas will be a part of the toolbox, and there you can download the canvas and fill it in. And you can also work in groups with the canvas and help each other out and understand other businesses and how they work with innovations. We have used this canvas in workshops with several SMEs participating at the same time. And the reflections from that workshop was that a lot of the SMEs don't really talk to each other, and they sit on a lot of information that could be useful for the others without having to give up their secrets, so to say. Because this is not like the details in the innovation, it's the road how to do the innovations in a more solid and easy way, and also to help out with contacts and networks.
Yeah, but I think that was it from us.
Hey, thank you very much, Josefina and Jeanette. And I think that you managed to keep your time very well. So I think we can open up the floor for one or two questions, if to hear a little bit about the reaction to the toolbox. We should also say that in due time, hopefully very soon, it will be possible to both to download the canvas and also to have a more say full online version of this and other tools developed in the project. But please let me hear if there are any of the participants that want to address a question to Josefina and Jeanette.
Yes, I have one question, or perhaps it's also a comment. It's to you, Jeanette. I would just also comment on our interesting workshops and ask you if you could, in small details, go closer into how that you see this collaboration taking place between the companies during such a session.
Yeah, in our workshops, we have started with that each company filled in the canvas and was thinking of their own business and one of their innovations. And then they were sitting in smaller groups presenting for each other. And when they started to present, even though their businesses were not in the same subject, a lot of the ways of innovation was like similar, And some people were on the way to step in the wrong direction, while others could help them out, giving suggestions and contacts of who to reach out to. And also there were companies that had products that other companies could have use of that they didn't know. Was that the answer for your question, how we did it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And this can be web-based. That is a good thing about this.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, this of having the online tool, it sort of became quite urgent since here in the middle or late parts of the project where we were not able to do the physical meetings as planned in the South Baltic region, but this has been a possibility to keep up the dialogue and also have some mutual share between us. And I think that these national characteristics of different types of innovation also shows the potential for the future to have a future exchange of experiences between SMEs in the different countries in the South Baltic regions. I think we all have a lot to learn from each other. Not saying that without saying that any country is especially excellent, because I don't think you should talk in those terms. Rather, in the terms that each country have its own entrepreneurial culture, which always benefits from being mirrored with other countries to see both the pros and cons of the specific entrepreneurship culture that you live in. So I think that's a very, very interesting way forward indeed. Okay, so thanks again, Josephine and Jeanette. And if we don't have any more questions for now, we will move on to my dear colleague Ivanche Dimitrievski from Lund University. You have been trying to deal with a slightly more aggregated level of the food innovation and to see how we can connect different parts of the food system thinking as in relation to innovation. And I think that we are now ready to see a fascinating.
Well.
Ivanche, do you have any brief introduction to what we are going to see?
Yes. So can you all see my screen?
Yeah, we did seconds ago. So.
Okay. Can you do now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I have a little introduction. So my name is Ivanche Dimitrievski, and I'm a postdoctoral researcher at Lund University. I've been involved in several tasks within the SB Food project, and today I will briefly present one of the results. And the video clip that I'm about to show you presents the South Baltic food system model. We have built this model from patterns we recognize in the ways our stakeholders talked about innovation and the innovative in their work. In this process, we used existing approaches as a source of inspiration and insight for making sure that the resulting model reflects the state of the art and contemporary direction in this domain. Of course, our model also speaks to developments within other projects. So, for instance, a mapping exercise done within the Fit for Food project, including our associate partner, Kaunas University in Lithuania, identifies that most policies and investments, as well as fundamental research, have mainly focused on agriculture and fisheries and on consumption. So these would, in the terms of our model, this would be the pre-production and consumption levels. By contrast, much less considered are the intermediary dimensions of the food system. And this includes, for example, processing, marketing, retail, as well as their bilateral dynamics. So through our model, we sought to bring those dimensions to surface. The results of this work are summarized in the following short animation that I would ask Michael now to play. Michael, could you do the honors?
Yes,
And
and I will have you to close your screen first.
Stop the sharing, yes. And this is a kind of a pre-final version, let's say. So we are still doing modifications in the animation, but we are almost there. So Michael, you can play it now.
In the South Baltic region, and in many other parts of the world, we are facing an important challenge. This is to turn the food system into a tool for a more sustainable future. All of us who work with food, be it farmers, processors, marketers, or students in a food program, we can all be part of the solution. But the food system is complex, and it is not always easy to see how the things we do as part of our everyday work connect to a greater picture. To facilitate that broader perspective, we have created the South Baltic Food System Model. My name is Ivan Dimitrievski, working for Lund University as part of the SB FOODINNO project, and I will guide you through the model. In 2015, the United Nations member states adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. At its heart are 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs for short, which together recognize that ending poverty and other deprivations must go hand in hand with strategies that improve health and education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth, all while tackling climate change and working to preserve our oceans and forests. Our model begins here with the broader level challenges. The food system is interesting in this regard, as many of the established SDGs, for example, including hunger, health, clean water, climate, and ecosystems, directly pertain to it. The relevant science shows, for example, that farming, which is one aspect of the food system, is currently a leading driver of biodiversity destruction and the second largest contributor of greenhouse gas emissions. Of course, the food system can also be a driver of positive change in these and many other regards. The fundamental question then is how? We must understand that SDGs are primarily orientations, like signposts showing the way to sustainability, but the way is paved for each food actor differently, which means that meeting the SDGs requires further elaboration of an actor's individual circumstances. These are the different social, financial, environmental, and political conditions which translate the SDGs to the actor's local context and frame what actors can do about them. So on this level, our model asks actors to consider what addressing a particular challenge might entail given those framing conditions. Innovation support structures and entrepreneurial networks, as well as universities through fundamental and applied research activity, provide crucial enablers for tackling with global challenges. By enablers, we mean the financial, material, sociocultural, technological, and intellectual capital that actors could use in practice for addressing their concerns. This includes funding support, scientific knowledge and technology, but also technical competences, cultural expertise, experience, and practices. When addressing food system-related challenges, actors are rarely alone. Different clusters, organizations, and initiatives on the levels of pre-production, production, supply chain, and consumption engage with actors on their path to sustainability. Our model underscores the importance of networks, collaboration, and systems thinking in the joint resolution of shared challenges. In this process, actors pursue their organizational outcomes while regarding and being strategic about the waste their activities generate and are actively seeking ways of reintegrating that waste into their business operations. In conclusion, we have designed the model as a simple guide to help you navigate through the complex landscape of your everyday dealings as innovators in the food sector. It should be understood as a basis for considering diversity and the possibilities related to diversity. If we make an analogy with embroidery, our model is the basis on which the thread is woven, the various actors, and the linkages between them which together picture innovation in the making. We hope this model will incentivize collaborations between food actors in the South Baltic region, opening paths to a more sustainable future.
So I couldn't hear the applause. um, Michael, if you could allow me now to share the screen again. Yes. Okay. Okay, so basically that was the result we have produced so far. And I, for the second part of my presentation, I wanted to give you a more grounded sense of this model, of what you just saw and heard. And I have also prepared a kind of, so I have prepared a kind of short example from our own case collection hinted to before. So the case in focus is a small company based in Gothenburg in Sweden, and it's called Again AB. If you use our toolbox and go through their case, you will notice that for them, the challenge is at the core of things. So they define it like this. The increasing population on Earth puts higher and higher demands on food production. The ability to supply phosphorus and nitrogen to our agriculture will determine whether we are to eradicate hunger or not. But the costs of mining for phosphorus are increasing, and it is a finite resource where we know that peak production is imminent. We are also aware of the large amounts of energy needed to produce the vital nitrogen fertilizer. Following the idea that ecology and the circular economy are interrelated when addressing this challenge or these challenges, this Swedish company developed a product called Gainutri, and this is basically a fertilizer made of processed human urine. Of course, in so doing, they were not alone. To sell Gainutri on the market, Again AB needed more knowledge about the potential of this product as a fertilizer, and to this end, they reached out to SLU, the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences in Alnarp in Sweden. In terms of the model, Again AB basically were reaching out for enablers. Now, the researchers at SLU suggested doing a joint funding application to Partnership Alnarp. This is an organization for cooperation between the faculty at SLU and the business community, public authorities, or industry organizations in southern Sweden for a project to investigate this. This resulted in success. The project also received financial support from Region Västra Götaland, while Hasselfors Garden, a Swedish company involved in the production and marketing of soils, contributed to it by taking part in the discussions related to suitable substrate. So what I presented until now basically follows the contours, the external contours of the model, the first and the second level, but not much is mentioned in this case, which corresponds to the middle part of our model. Even though we can see this in how this company, Again AB, defines its target group. These are property owners who know the importance of planning new projects with a basis in maximal sustainability, land assignment actors in cities and counties with strong environmental requirements and regulations, the Helsingborg H+ district, where sustainable solutions are tested in order to achieve more efficient nutrient cycles, and actors in developing countries, where again AB's technique can contribute to nutrient recovery and water purification. So described in this way, the mentioned actors are not so much target groups or a target group as they are partners in the joint resolution of shared sustainability challenges. So in conclusion, I have selected this example because it emphasizes the point that there are possibilities in diversity. Of course, there are different forms and levels of diversity. The types of actors mentioned in the again AB case are among a myriad of potential others. I would like you to think socializing the solution by reaching out to researchers in the social sciences and humanities to help you link your work and products to relevant cultural dimensions. Think geographically too, regarding possible links to entrepreneurial structures in other regions and in other countries, as Kasper had indicated earlier, presenting his tools. Perhaps I can end here then and invite the audience to reflect on different ways for benefiting from the diversities we already have in the South Baltic region, and perhaps also on ways to use this model to that end. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ivanche. And you already open up the floor for some reflections about the case and the food system model. So please, anyone interested, take the microphone.
Can I ask you, Ivanche, about this case that you presented just now? How was the collaboration established? Who was actively involved in making this happen? Do you know?
So I used, I came, okay, a little bit of background. I came somewhat late within the SB Food project. So by the time I came, a lot of the cases that we have presented in the toolbox were already established. So, I mean, what I had as a resource to think around models and to pull out patterns and so on, this was basically from what I had as transcribed from previous work, and this I think Josephine might not Josephine, Jeanette, sorry, Josephine. Jeanette might know a bit better, or maybe Håkan, about the specifics of the. So you're interested specifically in the in basically who was the glue between the various actors in the again AB case.
And perhaps, because we also have participants from SLU, Boel, Helena, Gun. Perhaps any one of you are most familiar with the gynetry case. Gun, no, but you turned on your video at least.
No, I'm not.
Boel, was it you that curated it originally?
Yeah. I don't have the camera on. No, I think it was this partnership Anna that they were collecting among the cases. And then, but this is how it works: that you connect the one from the partners and then one SLU researcher, and then the problem. So if everything turns out well, then it will be a good result.
And that actually points to that when you work with the food system, you definitely need intermediators between the different levels. And Partnership Anna was designed to be this kind of intermediator to make matchmaking and be the glue between the entrepreneurs, farmers or other agricultural entrepreneurs and the researchers. So that definitely points to a direction also to develop different types of intermediary to make the food system to become even more innovative in the future.
Yeah, especially when there are innovations and you don't know the result, then it's a good way to start.
Exactly. Any more reflections? Right now, I guess that we will definitely touch upon these issues also in the final concluding discussion. Yes, so no more question for that. So perhaps we can now conclude this second session. Thank you to all the presenters, and I hope that all of you now know a little bit more about the tools emerging from this project. We will have a 6 minutes break and start again at 13:45. And I guess a few of you would like to help Guy Nutri with developing the fertilizer for the future with human urine. Or if not, just have a break, have a coffee. See you again in 6 minutes. Thank you very much. very good. Now it's 2:15 and we are back on track again. So I hope you managed to fill up with some nutrients, or at least to have a little bit back stretching in this Zoom fatigue that has struck us all. A new diagnosis, perhaps just as severe as the COVID-19. The future remains to see. But the good point is that we can have a lot of very interesting presentations from different countries. And we will now start the third and final block with different short presentations about focusing first on plant proteins, and then after 4 presentations of not more than 10 minutes each, we will move on to discuss the public level before we end up with a final discussion. But now it's time for Johannes Ravn Jørgensen from Aarhus University and to introduce us to the faba bean trial that has been conducted as part of this project. Welcome, Johannes, and the floor is yours.
Okay, oops. Can you see my screen?
Yes, very well.
Well, sorry, I can't see it myself. Okay, you can see it. Yes, good. Now we're going to talk a little about plant proteins and also a little about production. So that's now we're on the other end of the scale, not really the where we are talking about making all the change, making all the small SME providing the food. But now we're talking about the production of it. And as the first of the presenters talking about these protein crops, I'll talk about faba bean. And
sorry, Johannes, I think I need to interrupt you because I think that there was some kind of mix up here because we got back to see the program.
Okay.
We saw your presentation for a few seconds, but then there, yes. Now we can see it, and if you can put it full screen, even better.
Let's see what happened here. I would start to. Okay. We see what happened now.
Yes. Now we see the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
And yes, now it's in presentation. Okay. Thank you very much. Off you go, Johan.
I'll talk about faba bean, and faba bean. It is one of the grain pulses or grain legumes we can grow easily in our region, and the other ones which are easily to grow are lupine and peas. But now faba bean, it is in many ways and very interesting and promising crop. But there are, however, some challenges in growing it, and actually there's quite a few challenges. It is it's rather demanding when it comes to the soil, to the water supply. It is rather demanding that it should have rather quite a few numbers between when you could grow it in the crop rotation. There's a lot of diseases and also a lot of pest insects that they can attack faba bean as well. And so there are quite a number of challenges to this, and these challenges, they should not be overseen, because many of us, we talk about that grain legumes, they should come in and really take over a lot of the farmland and be produced, but it's not that easy all over. And as we can see here, it's just to show you that the area with grown with faba bean here, it's called horse bean, right here down this corner. It is actually rather small, and we had expected it to increase quite a lot within the last few years. But however, this have not happened, and this is actually because it is rather difficult crops to grow. We have, in this trial there, we have been looking in to see if we could add some techniques where we could obtain high grain yield. as well as high protein yield through changed cultivation techniques, and we have also been trying to address some of the issues that are for the farmers, that the seeds are very expensive actually to sow, and within faba bean there's really a very big variation in seed size. So we have been trying to look in and see if we can work with some model crops here with a Finnish variety which is rather small seeded, and actually using them, we would expect that we could really halve the cost of seed, of the price of the seed to be used, and maybe we could go up in higher seed densities to overcome some of the problems with weeds, for instance, in the crop, and also maybe see if we could obtain a better yield. But it is compared to a standard variety, Boxy, which is a well-adapted variety. But what we actually have been doing here is that we can see here in the top right corner, we have been out to see if we could, by changing the seed density, if we could increase the competitiveness to weeds in the fields. And down in the right corner here, we can actually see how does the different varieties actually differ in the ability to compete against weeds. How does the plant coverage varies? And here we can see the difference between the two varieties. The small seeded one are more open throughout the season. However, we can compensate by that by putting in more plants and actually increase competitiveness to weeds. In the left side, we can see how that this is actually shown by plant height, how it actually changed in the season between varied seeding densities, and all this gives an image of actually that we can make the plants more competitive to weeds which are in the fields. Comparing the grain yields here, we can see that here in top we have the average over the 2 years. We can see that increasing yield are obtained if we increase the seed density a little, but not that much though. And we can see, not surprisingly, that the adapted Danish variety had an average yield of 4.5 tons per hectare, whereas the model plant only have 2.7 tons per hectare. But maybe more interesting is that in the bottom we have the 3 years where we had the trials, 2018, 19, and 20. We see that in 2019 we had a rather satisfying yield, whereas it was very low in 2018 and 19. And there are some good reasons for this, and that go back to some of the reason why farmers can be a little reluctant actually to take up faba bean growing. Some of the reasons could be that the seed could be very heavily infected by broad bean weevil, and as a matter of fact, in 2018, 37% of the seed of Conso, the model plant, was actually infected by these broad bean weevil, and we can see how they spoil the seed, and of course that will actually spoil the utilization of them as well. Moreover, we had in 2018 and also in 2020, we had rather broad growing conditions. And we can see here in 2018 in July, it was very dry. As well in 2020, it was rather dry. And even though that this had been grown on what we say rather clay soil with a high water capacity, we have obtained a really big depression in yield in these 2 years compared to 2019. The protein content also vary between these varieties. The model crop here is higher than the reference, and we can also see that there are actually some variations here between years as well. But this may not be so interesting and so what the actual protein content. I think the most interesting thing is really how much protein will you be able to harvest per hectare per year. And we can see here that in average that there are quite a lot, or the highest yield protein yield is still in the well-adapted variety. But we can see that when we go to 2019, we can actually see that you obtain really in average 725 kilogram of protein per hectare for boxer, compared to 1,390 kilogram in Conto. And what we also can see here that by increasing the seed density here by 50%, which actually is still by less cost than the seed here at 100%, we're actually getting close to obtain the same protein yield per hectare. So we are so there are actually some possibilities here to obtain a high protein yield. Still, it should be said that we see this very big variation between years, and we actually these tribes also have have demonstrated that it is challenging to grow these grain legumes or grain pulses here in our climate, and it really it shouldn't be overseen the challenges there are for the farmers actually to produce these crops. I think I've spent my 10 minutes as far as I know. And I would like to, of course, thank the technicians who have helped me here. Okay.
Thank you very much, Johannes. Very interesting, and also appreciate that you did not sort of try to underestimate the challenges that we have. Of course, not the future also have a lot of challenges, although the potentials are, of course, great. I think I will not allow any questions now. I think we can take questions after all the 4 presentations related to the plant proteins, if that is okay with you. And then I would like to introduce Christine Stuck from University of Rostock to give her presentation on in the same theme, the plant protein of the SP FOODINNO project. And it seemed like yes, perfect, Christina, your presentation has now started to be shared with the rest of us. So welcome, then you can start your presentation now.
Okay, thank you. Welcome from me. Our contribution to South Baltic FOODINNO were field trials with lupins. As we have in our region severe problems with pests. So I start with a brief introduction about the lupin species we are working with. Here, the narrow-leaved or blue lupin. Not all cultivars have blue flowers, but also reddish or white flowers, but it's called blue lupin. So it's in our focus. This species, its origin comes from the old world around the Mediterranean countries. The grains of the plants have high protein content comparable with that of soybeans. It is used mostly for animal feed, but more and more in last years also for human consumptions. The plants have a high content of alkaloids, but cultivars with low alkalit contents, the so-called sweet lupins, have been bred. Sweet lupins because the alkaloids are bitter and unfortunately toxic. The value of sweet lupins is twofold. They are, as already mentioned, an important source of protein for humans and animals. And secondly, the lupin cultivation has several positive effects on the soil. First of all, the nitrogen fixation by the nodules. Well, lupins are not exactly a major crop in Germany, and I think also not in other European countries. So why we are working with lupins? First, lupins are growing in light and nutrient-poor soils. So they are very well adapted to the environment of the region around Rostock, northeastern part of Germany. And secondly, regionally produced protein-rich plants are more and more demanded. Another reason, the health benefits of lupins. They are high in dietary fiber and protein, low in fat, and it's also a reason they are a domestic alternative to soybeans. And now to the pests. Two weevils are specialized in lupins. Here we have the large lupin weevil, Caragmus cursorius, and the gray one, lupin weevil. Both weevils have a feeding preference for lupins. These weevils feed, the adult weevils feed on the leaves, as you can see here. As a result, we have these typical notches on the leaf margins. This damage looks weak, and yes, it is weak, and elder plants can compensate it. However, much more serious is the damage on the roots. The larvae of the beetles, you see it here on the left side, the larvae are feeding exclusively within the nodules where they develop. And so the plant loses the ability to nitrogen fixation. And as a secondary damage, several soil, fungi and bacteria damage the root by using the woundings as entry points. And so here we have the typical symptoms, these dark brown and really heavily damaged roots. These plants, water and nutrient uptake is considerably reduced. Now, our questions. First, the lupin yield. What is the impact of lupin weevils and the larvae on the lupin yield, the grain yield in this case? And what is the effect of larval root damage on protein content of grains? So we used praxis fields by farmers, and also by farmers who have severe problems with the beetles every year. And we used our own experimental field. You see it here, and the colleagues are measuring the plots in the early springtime after the lupins were sown. So far, if you have any questions for more details, we can discuss it. So now a few results. I concentrate on result here of 2020 and just selected result. I would like to show just the trend of the overall investigation. We carried out control measures without any treatment, and we used 2 insecticides. Just Sputsid, it's a biological insecticide used by organic farmers, and Karate is a synthetic one used more by conventional farmers. The treatment success regarding the root damaged here is only weak. In Rostock, we have statistical relevant reduction of root damage by the insecticides. On the farm, the Praxis farm, we have no success. Just the contrary. Here, in contrast, it's just the contrary. The reason could be that the weevils had appeared here on this farm much earlier than in Rostock, and so they already have laid their eggs, and which could no longer be controlled by the insecticides. Now the grain yield. Grain yield is the most important factors for farmers, of course. No significant increase in lupin yield could be achieved by controlling the beetles, but the tendency to an increase is visible on the farm field. On the small plots in Rostock, it's not so clear, just a slide on the tendency of an increased grain yield on the farm. Our main question was how the protein content is affected by weevil by the larval activity, and the result here is that neither at the experimental farm in Rostock nor at the breeding station, in this case in Boxsee, the breeding company, is any effect on the protein content. You see here the number of root feeding sites, so it's the damaged roots. They are only slightly damaged in Rostock, but they are heavily damaged in Boxsee, but we have no difference in the protein content. Instead, we see a strong influence of the location. In Rostock, the soil is loamy, sandy, so it's more loam than sand. And in Boxsee, we have a very, very light and sandy soil. So now the conclusion: the lupin weevils damage the lupins above and below ground. The root damage is only weakly reduced after insecticide treatment. The lupin grain yield is reduced by the weevils, and there's no correlation between root damage and caused by the weevils and the protein content. So the protein content is just affected by the location. And at the end, I would like to thank many participants, the breeder, the farmers, my colleague in Rostock who did the protein analysis, students, and of course the technicians, all above Rosa Minderlin, who directed the experiments during the Corona situation this year. And I thank you for attention.
Thank you, Christina, for this Very interesting presentation about yet another crop, the lupins, that also has some great potential. And we will continue this odyssey on mutual exchange of learnings over the South Baltic, different regions, different soils, different crops. Now we are up to Helena Persson-Hovmalm from the University of Agricultural Sciences in Sweden, in Alnarp, speaking about the intermediate crops. Welcome, Helena. Please start.
Yes, thank you. So it says cover crops on the program, but actually it's called intermediate crops. That's the correct word for it. So I don't think I have to talk a lot about this. You all know that there is an increased demand of locally produced green proteins. And there are some different ways to solve this. And one way is, of course, to increase the yield per hectare. And another way is to increase the use of agricultural biomass. So green biomass is such a potential source of proteins for food and feed. And if you look into the literature, there are figures that say that for these aerial parts of the plants, especially green leaves, they contain between 1.6 and 15% of proteins. So the idea is to extract these proteins from the green biomass in plant protein factories. So this is a sort of to use this residues from the farming and turn them into proteins valuable for various applications. So it's an added value for the farmer. And we have such a plant protein factory at the campus, SLU campus in Alnarp, and that is close to Malmö. And this is a pilot plant for extraction of different proteins and protein fractions from different kinds of plant material. And it's about resource efficiency. Crops and crop residues can be used to produce products for food, for fodder, for cosmetic and healthcare industry, for example. So it's multi-use of the plant material. And the idea is also to extract other high-value plant components from the biomass, the green biomass, like fibers and antioxidants. So intermediate crops, that is an example of green biomass that can be used for this. And an intermediate crop, that is a crop that is grown between two main crops for different reasons, to reduce the nitrogen leakage and to as a weed control, for example. And the potential cultivation area in Sweden for these intermediate crops is 194,000 hectares. And 2018, only 70,000 hectares were cultivated, but there is a potential. And these crops are mainly incorporated into the soil as green manure, but can also be used for biogas production. And several of these crops, they produce seeds with a high protein content, for example, buckwheat and hemp, but we don't know much about the protein content in stem and leaves. So potentially, proteins from these green parts of intermediate crops could be used in this plant protein factory to isolate proteins as a product. So we designed a field trial, and we were interested in different species: buckwheat, hemp, phacelia, and oilseed radish. And within brackets, you can see the name of the cultivar. And we had this field trial in the south of Sweden, in Skåne, northeast part of Skåne. And we were interested also in if there were any differences between fertilized areas and non-fertilized areas, and also if there were any differences between the harvest time. So we harvested 4 times during the late summer and autumn, August, September, October, and November. And we, of course, we measured the biomass yield of this, and then we dried the material in 60 degrees and determined the dry matter content, and we milled it. And it wasn't that easy to mill all of the plants, I can say. The hemp stems were really, really difficult to mill. And then we determined the nitrogen content of these different crops, and then determined the protein concentration based on that using a specific conversion factor. And then we made some economic assessments, and that is, we tried to relate the production costs to the protein value. And we made some assumptions regarding this. For example, the production costs, which proteins to develop and extract, and the cost for that. And that was we calculated on using the fresh material, the wet material for juicing, and the proteins were extracted from that juice. And we thought about 2 different protein fractions: white protein, and that is Rubisco, that is the most common protein in green parts of the plant, that is for human consumption, and then green proteins for feed. And then some assumptions regarding potential sales prices. So just to show you briefly some of the results on the protein content, here you can see the 4 different crops, and dark green is non-fertilized and light green is the fertilized. And then you can see the harvest for different months here. And as you can see, there are some differences between the crops, and it doesn't seem that the fertilization as such made any impact on the protein content. But if you look at the biomass production, that is not that surprisingly, actually, that the more fertilizer you add, the more biomass you get. So that might perhaps compensate for the lower degree of protein, that you get more biomass. So, and then we did this economic assessment, and I will not go into details because this is quite complicated. But as there is a variation between crops and harvest date and nitrogen fertilization, that will of course affect the recovery, the protein recovery, and also the income from this. And if you say that approximately you have 5,000 kilogram dry matter per hectare, and you have approximately 10% protein in this biomass, then potentially you can get 500 kilograms of proteins per hectare, but most probably not all of this is recoverable. And of course, to increase the profit, we should also try to extract other compounds, fibers and bioactive compounds. And if you are interested in this economic assessment, I can tell you that there is a publication in progress, economic viability of protein concentrates production from green biomass of intermediate crops, and that is under revision. So hopefully this article will be published in the beginning of next year, January, February, and there you will see all the details about this economic assessment. So in conclusion, yes, there is a potential for this green biomass from intermediate crops to be used as raw material for extraction of proteins. But since there is a variation among crops, among harvest date and nitrogen fertilization, of course there is, this will give a variation in biomass yield, and of course that will affect the profit. So I will thank some people here, and Thomas Prade, David Hansson, and Sven-Erik Svensson, they are involved in this field trial as such. And Karl-Erik Gustafsson helped me with the nitrogen analysis. And then Faraz Munir, William Hughes, and Eva Johansson, they are part of this plant protein factory that I told you about earlier. And I can tell you that this was partly funded by Partnership Alnap, and we talked about Partnership Alnap before as a very good way to get the connection between the research and the companies. And if you wondering, I can tell you that the picture here is the main building at the campus in Alnap. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Helena. And as you can see, a trip to the Swedish University of Agriculture campus in Alnap can be interesting, not only from the scientific point of view, but also I think it's one of the nicest campuses I have ever seen. And the image of the castle there and the stroll in the park is definitely an add-on for anyone working or visiting it. Now, as I said, we will continue this odyssey, and thank you very much, Helena. It is yet another dimension of when to harvest, and also to use it as an intermediate crops as protein plant. Very interesting. And now the final presentation in this block before we open up for a few questions will be from Thomas. Are you? Yes, there you are, Thomas Olofsson, and you have managed to start screen sharing. Perfect. Warm welcome. Warm welcome. The floor is yours, Thomas.
Thank you.
You're a Swede from the Zealand Roskilde University, a true interregional walker, a regional, as they were called. Not many of those left these days, but let's wish that we can go back to the old days soon again.
Yes, and a former student of both Lund University and Uppsala, and Linköping. So I've been around. Thank you. I will tell you a little bit more of the practical use of plant protein. And I'm a lecturer at Zealand in Roskilde, and I want to change. Yay, it works. Zealand Academy of Technologies and Business. It's one of the partners in SB FOODINNO, and I will tell you about how we have contributed to the project. So both lecturers and students from the programs Academy Professional Degree in Nutrition Technology, Academy Professional Degree in Food Technology, and also part-time degree in Nutrition Technology have contributed to the SB FOODINNO project with product development cases, seminars, webinars, and workshops. I started out when I joined the project with a plant protein fair or seminar in March 26th. And there were both suppliers and users of plant-based protein. Future, who is a supplier of lupine tempeh, and Nordic quinoa, supplier of course, quinoa, different seeds. KMC, Kartoffelmelscentralen, potato protein powder. KMS, which is a public meal service for elderly in Copenhagen. Plantepølsen, who supplies plant-based sausages. And Absalon, the student canteen on Absalon in Roskilde. And lecturers and students from Zealand and Absalon were also there, and Christian will be on later on. From this seminar, we used the contacts to create cases for our students. So we used quinoa in quinoa meatballs, quinoa one pot, quinoa bread, and quinoa sorbet ice cream So the quinoa and Nordic quinoa received recipes with production procedure and nutrition calculations. Future and Absalon's Canteen in Roskilde, they fell in love, so they actually connected directly and started to use the Absalon Canteen started to use the lupin tempeh from Future. And we also got involved in making a vegetarian lasagna, vegetarian pasta bolognese, and a vegan tomato soup with lupin tempeh. Very tasty, all of them, and even with umami taste, even though we use no meat in these different dishes. And in the vegan soup, we used lupin tempeh chopped up and fried as instead of bacon we used as a topping in the original recipe. Tasted great, everything. Then we used potato protein, a powder called Protafy 130 for meatloaf, soups, and gravy. The soups and gravy were not very successful. It had a grainy texture, but the meatloaf was great. But all of these information is good. It's good to know for KMC. Plantepølsen delivered beetroot and carrot sausage, and our students decided to develop a Swedish sausage dish, svensk pølseret. It's funny because this dish doesn't exist in Sweden. It's a Danish dish, but they call it Swedish sausage dish. Very interesting. We made both vegan and vegetarian versions of this, and the beetroot vegetarian version with cream and milk actually tasted better than the original one with meat sausage. We continue with Compass Group, who has company canteens, and our students developed our one-week menu plan with increased use of plant-based proteins and one vegetarian alternative daily. And they made it possible for Compass Group to live up to one of their points in their strategy, which is to be a sustainable supplier of lunch alternatives. So they were very happy. Then we continue with the Plant Protein DK. It's a web shop for plant-based protein powders for people who work out, and they wanted to know if it is possible to use their powders in meals. So we actually tested the powders as ingredients in plant-based ice cream, mousse, protein bars, protein pancakes, or waffles. And the company was able to use these recipes to tell their customers that it's actually, the powders are more useful than just for people who work out. And then we continued with Nisco pea protein powder. And we developed recipes for Dina Deluxe, who has student canteens, among others, the one on Zealand in Roskilde. So the student developed a plant-based minced meat ingredient, and it was suitable as a vegan steak or meatballs, and also in vegan sauce, for example, in pasta bolognese or in lasagna. This minced meat ingredient was also suitable both for boiling and for frying. And Dina Deluxe was very happy for this recipe that they want to keep for themselves. So I can't give it to you, even if you want. Well, it's actually published on the intranet, so you can see it there. Then we established a network for leaders in large kitchens, and the first workshop was in 3rd of March in 2020. So we communicated results from the SBU FOODINNO cases. We had Henrik Saxe to lecture on LCA and CO2 footprint of ingredients, so that these leaders would not, they would know, and they now know what the ingredients are more or less CO2, has more or less CO2 impact. And then we also had a CO2 calculation workshop where the participants reduced the amount of meat in different original recipes, and then had to calculate what the impact was when they used vegetable proteins instead. And then Dino Deluxe served both the meatballs that I talked about earlier, and then also this tomato soup with lupine as lunch. And all the participants were very excited. Then we had discussions on policies and on goals for the future concerning sustainability. And leaders from 16 different large public kitchens were participants. Then we have also written an article on sensory assessment, which includes clear instructions in how to use these methods that we have used in our cases. 3 different methods: discrimination test to determine whether there is a difference between 2 samples, the QDA method, quantitative descriptive analysis, that analyzes on specific descriptions of an ingredient, and then the Peter Closer method, which determines the culinary success for a whole meal. This article is written, so it's easy to understand and to use in SMEs if they want to do some sustainable product development. Then we also were in contact with this public kitchen for elderly, and they wanted to develop some small vegan dishes or snacks. We contacted Biotrino, who produces and supplies blonde chlorella algae powder. This was very surprising to us because the taste and the smell, and also the way it behaved, this powder, was very similar to egg yolk. So it was perfect for this case. So Biotrino and Copenhagen Meal Service, it's true, they love each other. And sustainable product development webinar for the members of the work union, Diet and
Thomas,
Nutrition.
you need to conclude your presentation now.
Okay, we also developed teaching material on amino acid score. And yes, we have done a lot and we want to do more. So please, I just skip to my last. If you want us to do any more product development with plant-based protein, please let us know. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for this packed presentation with a lot of things, and not least for introducing the gastronomic component into the plant protein sector, which is of course very interesting and fundamental when you work with a food system, that it must go all the way to the consumers and be something that we should put into our mouths and hopefully be more joyful afterwards than we were before we entered the meal. So thank you very much to Thomas and to all 4 of you. And can we have 1 or 2 questions to any of the 4 speakers on the plant protein theme before we move on? Okay, but we can also definitely raise some issues or questions when it comes to the final discussions. So you can wait with your best comments for that. I think Thomas managed also to create a very elegant bridge to our next speaker, Christian Eidekhoff, who will talk about the public sector and not least the local food municipalities strategy. So welcome, Christian.
Thank you.
I've met you with many affiliations, but as for now, you are at Absalon, right? Welcome.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, Håkan. Yes, I want to present a work that we did in the project on food policies and food strategies, because we already talked about small companies, entrepreneurs, small food SMEs that work in this field, and I guess we all know that to be successful as an upcoming company doing a lot of innovation, you need not only financial capital, but you also need social capital, maybe also even cultural capital. You need a good network to get started, to find sales channels for your products and things like that. So what we did was actually what we wanted to do was to explore how the public sector could assist smaller food companies in being successful with their production. So what we did was a study on, as you can see here on the slide, on rural public food policies and strategies. Rural because we are in a rural area. Most of the municipalities and most of the regions are dominated by rural areas. There are a few larger towns, not that many. So this was what we wanted to look into, and we already knew from the outset that the municipalities in the region in Sweden, in this case study, we have included Denmark, Sweden, and Lithuania. We already knew from the start that even within countries, municipalities were quite different. You can see the contributors here on the right side. So the aim, let me go to the next slide. Maybe I'll do it like this. So the aim of the study was to conduct an investigation on the collaboration between the local public sector and local food SMEs. And we wanted to look into two things, actually, how food policies were developed, and secondly, how those food policies were turned into food strategies. What would the companies do? What would the public institution do to support local food entrepreneurs? So we started up by selecting the municipalities that we wanted to look further into, because we didn't want to look into all of them, and not all of them, actually only a few of them in Denmark at least, and in Lithuania do have a food policy. There are also municipalities that do have a food policy, but they have no written text on it, but they still have some kind of food policies. So food policies comes in all different sorts. But we selected different municipalities: Eslöv, Malmö, Kalmar in Sweden, Ritava in Lithuania, and Bornholm, Lolland Falster, and Ringkøbing-Skjern in Denmark. All of those are more or less involved in food policies. So what we did was to collect data, well, reports, writings that they had done themselves, and we conducted interviews in all these municipalities and regions. So what were the results of it, to put it briefly? First of all, in rural setting, food policy and food strategies are used as a business policy, a food business policy. Food strategies is implemented and conducted to support the local food SMEs, and they do that in a number of different ways. And this is maybe I believe this is the most characteristic element of food policies and strategies in rural areas. I should maybe also mention that food policies and strategies are quite common in urban settings also. And we did a literature study on this actually, and there's a huge amount of literature on food policies and food strategies in urban settings, but very little, I would say, if any, on food policies and food strategies in urban settings. So it's definitely an urban issue. So, but it's coming up slowly in more rural areas. I see I don't have the time to go into detail with this, but one of the things that we examined was what would the local food SMEs like local public authorities to assist them, how to assist them in their innovation and product development. And these are some of the issues. And market access is definitely a very important issue here. So secondly, food policy and food strategies are used as a branding strategy, not only for companies, but for the municipalities in general. It's becoming more and more common that municipalities brand themselves to attract new inhabitants, to attract tourists. So food is one of those ways, and locally produced food is one of those ways that municipalities in rural settings can attract newcomers, new inhabitants. In some cases also, we found that food policies and food strategies were part of a sustainability agenda. Local food is very often associated with sustainability. So sustainability issues in the municipalities would often go hand in hand with a more general sustainability agenda. So I want to address the process and by which these food policies have been formulated and how they have been implemented by strategies. And there's a huge variety in that. There are municipalities where the food policies have been started by citizens, so it's very much a bottom-up process. At the one end of the spectrum, and at the other end, we find, if we go to Sweden, we find that there's a very elaborated, I would say, national food strategies, which has had a great influence and impact on regional, county, and municipal food policies. So the spectrum is very different from rural areas in Denmark, where it's initiated by local citizens, to more political processes where it downplays from national level to the municipal level. From the literature, we collected the main issues that are addressed the main values that are associated with food policies within academia and I mean academic papers. So, and this is a list of 9 elements that we find that you find in lots of papers. Business and jobs, creation of business and jobs, support for the local economy and entrepreneurs, to make the region attractive for newcomers and tourists, to create meaningful jobs. This is often, actually quite often mentioned, especially, I guess this is, we see that mostly when it comes to urban food policies. Food safety is slowly coming into the agenda also. Secure food supply and availability of food. Food quality is often mentioned. Fresh raw materials and products, healthy food, and access to food. Sustainability or environment, number 6. Reduced transport, local raw materials, and so on. Perceived quality. What is perceived quality? Well, it refers to terms like closeness. How close to you is the food produced? Which also means how will you be able to link to that food in your everyday life, traceability, the knowledge of the producer, seasonal rhythms, and things like that. Transparency in general, visibility of the production history of the food is also mentioned as something which is important for food policy and food strategies. And finally, place. Place as a geographical term when it comes to how to create relationships, sense of belonging, identity, how to connect with the area. So these are all issues that are mentioned in academic papers on food policies. And therefore, it's also, when it comes to local food and SMEs, these are all issues that they more or less are working with. I say more or less because it's difficult to work with all those issues at one time, but you find them at that many small food SMEs address these issues in their branding. I guess this is all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Christian. Thank you for bringing up the public level or public policy level, which is of course a very important part of the food system, and can work as one of the intermediaries to bring the different parts of the food system together. I can see thumbs ups, I can see clapping hands, and I've seen that for all the presenters during the day. So a great thanks to all of you that have done presentations today. As the final part here of this, we will have a little bit of a concluding discussion, and I'm sure that all of you can be interested in addressing different things. I will start to address Casper from Food User, if you are still with us. What, from your SME and matchmaker perspective, what have you find this kind of fascinating insights, hopefully, from today, and what can you bring with you from your company?
Yeah, I would say that that it has been very insightful to get a more, what can you say, yeah, on a deeper level insight into what is going on, and I definitely think that there's a lot in what we are trying to do in a commercial sense that resonates very well with what needs to be done in terms of being able to surface from the development and research and innovation side all the way to how do we get this into the stores or in the restaurants or where we can actually get the value of the new and better products to the consumers, for sure. So I would say that there is an even bigger part of me that definitely sees this as a way forward, both commercially, but also to get better products to market.
Yeah, thank you very much. We also have quite a lot of representatives from academia here, and one of them has not done any presentation of her own, but has been an important part of the project already from the start, is Mette Weinrich Hansen from Copenhagen University. I mean, Mette, what do you like to see or in the future concerning applications in research and education based on the findings and results from this project?
Thank you, Håkan. Yes, I am happy to have been part of this, as it has been a crucial and important project for also involving students, involving research, and to getting this, you could say, bridging between companies and organizations and public policy development and educational institutions. And as we have seen from the presentations today, the combination of involving students and researchers into both technical knowledge, science knowledge, food quality knowledge, but also understanding what type of innovation is actually going on in the smaller and medium-sized companies has been unrolled by involving students. I have several of students from the education that I'm head of that has been out doing innovation examinations. They have talked to a lot of startup companies, small and medium-sized companies, which is, I think, mutually inspiring. And if we want to solve some of the really big and complex problems of the future food system, we need to also strengthen this collaboration between higher educational institutions and the companies and organizations. So by bringing in attention to this, you could say, this collaboration and giving each other insights like we try to do here with this conference, but also to address in future collaborations, I think is very, very important if we want to really do the radical innovations as well as the inside incremental innovations that is necessary on both educational levels, but also in companies in general. So I'm very happy to see that all the insights we have from today on also on the food quality, the testing of the meals, and the agricultural research in combination can be this, you could say, food system research that we need, involving practical and company aspects as well.
Thank you very much. I think it's time to also to reach out to a part of the South Baltic region that has not been highlighted so much during this presentation, but remember that very many of the cases using the food canvas model and also been part of the case selection come from Lithuania. So perhaps anyone from Lithuania, Rasa, or anyone else would like to have a few comments from the other side of the sea, if you look at it from the South Swedish perspective.
Yes, hello from Lithuania. It's Rasa. Sorry.
Hello, Rasa. Welcome.
I will be without videos this time. So, yeah, we have been as associated partners in this project, but despite of this, we felt very much engaged in the whole process and almost as partners. And the most valuable, maybe I think for us, it was that SB FOODINNO project facilitated a dialogue in our municipality. First of all, engaging local authorities and public sector in this food theme, in this food industry. And secondly, also engaging national players from different agencies, from academia also, to pay more attention and to discuss more practically the situation in rural municipalities. So I think this was the most beneficial for us from this project. And also, yeah, and big thanks to facilitators. In this case, maybe we were very helpful that we had Jolita, and before that, I forgot the name of the other lady, who were Lithuanian ladies to support Upsilon University in this process. So, and we would really appreciate if this project somehow could continue, or this partnership could continue, and we are ready to become real partners in the process.
Yes, thank you very much. And of course, there are a lot of potentials, I think, for future collaboration. This should be seen as only a first step or a step along the road towards more innovation in the South Baltic region. I will now open up the floor if you have any questions to speakers or comments or remarks about this afternoon or about the entire project. Feel free to speak. Okay, you all seem like shy students at the end of the day, but that's perfectly fine. It's as the old saying goes, something like health keeps the silence. That means that if you are happy, you don't perhaps have to yell about everything. So let's just consider the silence that we are all very happy and almost ready to conclude the final conference. And the person that will conclude it with some final remarks will be Michael Christensen, the PMO of the project from Absalon.
Yes, and I will start with saying to all of you, and also a bunch of people who are not here today, but during this project, it has been a very good and interesting learning curve for all of us. And I would like to hear from the PMO to say thank you, both to project partners, at least most to the participating SMEs and clusters, which we have made this project for. I have drawn out some simple points and findings and learnings I would like to end this this webinar with, together with you. First of all, I see this project from the PMO chair, meaning that due to my own background, I'm SME centered, which we all are, and this project is about capacity building for the SMEs. So I would like to draw the attention of our project outputs, because it sometimes gets implicit, and it should of course be explicit. So I will just point out that for those 3 years that has been going now, we had done a lot of impact and outputs. And in our final report to the Joint Secretary, we will show it, but we will also give the result further on to other stakeholders. We talk about food clusters and ourselves and make it out in the open space. We have a lot of materials, video cases, facilitation tools, and just to memorize that we have done face-to-face, cross-border meetings. This interregional project setup is about cross-border face-to-face meetings. But due to these circumstances, we have managed to change and withhold our efforts to obtain results and tools So it's in a more asynchronous way. You could say that we do it innovation as a service. We are kind of broadcasting our knowledge bridging tools to different kind of stakeholders, not only the SMEs, but also clusters, for instance. So for the SMEs, if we take those to you, I would say that hopefully we have assisted you with inspiration through videos and the case stories and the facilitation tools, and also those value creating reports that some of you in the value chain can benefit of. And we have given you access to network and virtual support functions. And it has been for a period of time, and that's how it is in projects. So to take it to the other side for the project partners and associated partners, I would just sum up my experience here from the PMO chair, that we have succeeded, to my point of view, that this collaboration in a virtual organization can be challenging, as we are 7 individual organizations and 12 associated partners. And we have some conditions that we have project activities, which should be capacity building, not one-to-one in focus to the SMEs. So we are inspiring. So I say no de minimis. It's a kind of a nerd statement. It means that the SMEs themselves are not going through a one-to-one process in this project. And also saying that no project is an island. There are many other projects, and the SMEs are looking into this. And you, as an SME, it's a jungle. We know that, but it's also important, therefore, that we are able to give you concrete tools and facilitation on both a short-term basis, but also a long-term basis. And finalizing here, as an distinctive condition, that project comes and go, and our institution, hopefully, they stay for a longer period of time. So we should also say to each other that we will meet again, some of us, and hopefully most of us, in some kind of way. We have a new EU project period coming up, starting. Again, it's a technical thing here, but it means that new projects are set up all the time, meaning that you as a SME, you should continue to have this knowledge bridging virtual support function from a big forum of stakeholders. So I would like here, I'm not a great singer and I will not ask you to sing, but at the end, it is at the end of the project. I guess you all know this song. I will not sing it, but I will just put into your mind that when you go home and to sleep tonight in those conditions, please think about those sentences, those lines. And I have put in some extra face-to-face, some sunny day. And with these words, I will give it back to you, Håkan, and saying thank you for facilitating this good webinar. So thank you here from the PMO.
Thank you very much, Michael, for the concluding remark. And I think we all have the tune by Vera Lynn in our head. Finally, thanks a lot for joining us during this 3 hours, and thanks a lot for joining us over these 3 years of the project. We will meet again, and the participants of the project will also very shortly meet again in the very same room for some wrap up of the project. But this concludes the public part of the final conference. Thank you very much, Michael. You can press the stop recording button now.